Welcome May 2024. So excited to see you. Let's plan how we will fill our days in the month of May. Hey to those of you who are new here, I'm Jen of Time and Tide Plans, a planning shop and YouTube channel. I use index cards to plan instead of a physical planner. Using a card deck made up of 3x5s, I shuffle recurring tasks and take notes and focus on one-off tasks by using cards for single actions. It's helped me focus and eliminate overwhelm I would get from untended to-do lists. My family and I live on a sailboat in the San Juan Islands of the Pacific Northwest. Winter moorage is officially over, so last week we moved the boat out of the marina we had called home base since October of last year. Time is speeding up as we prepare for more far-off adventures, and with that comes the usual plan A, B, and C's that comes along with boat life, which is a great introduction to the themes I'm working with in the month of May, personally and here on YouTube. The first being Welcome the Unknown. I have 3 themes I pulled after going through my important dates, but I'll go back really to this idea that I'm going to go with the flow and not push and pull us. Or a better image, I guess, is of paddling with the current or sailing downwind. If needed, I can always pull off into an eddy and wait too. I'm just tired of mentally paddling against the current, worrying and trying hard to make things I have no control over go the way I want it to. Being on the island has really helped that. The other day, Wyatt and I, my youngest son, went to see his brother compete in track after a day of appointments on the mainland. Track meets are already long days for these island kids, but the ferry coming back was delayed due to mechanical issues. So when we got on board after the ferry departed, there was just happy kids and no grumblings from anyone. Last year, the boys and I were coming back to the island and our ferry was delayed by 2 hours. The truck next to us pulled out lawn chairs and popped them up on the truck bed overlooking the water and relaxed with a beautiful view. They couldn't change anything about the delays, so they just made the best of it. Our plan last year was to be cruising Mexico over the winter, and we ended up having a massive engine room overhaul, which made us rethink our plans. The past 2 years, I've had one foot in this community we're in and the other scheming of where else we should go next. I'm tired of future tripping, a term I'm stealing from Gabrielle Bernstein. In the spirit of going with the flow, I'm embracing where I'm at today and would like to make better social connections. So my second theme is in strengthening connections, and my third is in being open to being a beginner. My next 12-week year kicks off in May. I have a book I'm working on. Well, I worked on it over the last 2 years, and I'm going to finish it over the next 12 weeks. I have a lot of doubts and have been stuck in this perfectionist mindset. So instead, I'm going into this challenge, welcoming the unknown and being ready to work through the discomfort that comes along with trying something new. As I shuffle cards with you, I'm keeping those themes in mind. Welcoming the unknown, strengthening social connections, and staying open to being a beginner. So let's figure out how to live that out this month. First, I'll go over what my card deck looks like to begin with. Today, Saturday, April 27th. It's a rainy day here on board, which brings up another fun consideration for my plans this month, the weather. Rain, not so much, but definitely wind in the Pacific Northwest spring is a big consideration. My card deck currently has the cards and dividers through the month of June in my travel bag. This is my everyday card deck. I used to keep the entire year in my bag, but in January, I planned out our whole year with task cards and my 12-week years, and also added a thicker cardstock dividers for my month, date, and category dividers, which just doesn't all fit in my bag. So now I keep the months outside my current 12-week year in a card box stowed away. I have a video that I go over every single card in my card deck that I published like a few weeks ago, so you can check that out if you want to see every single card. To get started, what I'm going to do is just remove some of the YouTube cards that I've been working on. So I have one-off tasks that are part of my video goals that I have planned for the month of May. I'm just going to set it aside because I want to plan out my life first and our family, things that we need to do, and then I'm going to add in the YouTube component at the end. I'm setting aside the monthly reflection because I'm going to go ahead and do that with you in just a second. But to begin with, let's just see where everything's at. Here are some task cards for the day that involves YouTube too. So I had a lot of YouTube planned for today, knowing that it was going to be raining and that we'd probably be on the boat. It's also, I don't know if you can hear it outside, but the wind is starting to pick up. At 5 o'clock, it's supposed to be, if you use something like the Windy app, my husband showed me the iPad and it was all red in our area, which is very windy. I also have to clean the oven today, which I think is just going to involve me spraying it down and letting it sit overnight. Those are task cards that are monthly, and that's an example of a recurring task that gets shuffled. So I'm not making a new card for the oven every month. It's just getting shuffled, the same card. Here you have my morning routine cards that I go through in the morning and kind of prime myself with them. I did just go over how I created the affirmation and vision board cards, and I'll link that below as well. So those are cards I already did this morning and I shuffled for the next day. This is my 27th day of my sugar fast, and so I marked that off. This is just to show you that next week has quite a few cards involved. You can see there's also cards that are kind of ugly looking. Those are reused cards that I've been shuffling, waiting for the opportunity to book camps and things like that in the summer. It's just a reminder for me to check back in on that. Each week I've been shuffling it, and this week I finally get to have it be taken care of. Now that's a fun card for rearranging your space. I'm going to be doing some storage items on the boat. I have storage cards, which you'll probably see in this video, and I'm just going to make sure I make note of where things are in the different lockers. I have storage cards for our mainland items, so things that are in a storage container that I can see in the boat when I'm looking at my cards. Oh, do we have a tent, for example? And I can see if we still have our tent or if we gave it away, without having to go to storage and look for the box. So I want to do a similar setup for the lockers on the boat, because you'd think that in a small space that we would know where everything is, but there's definitely plenty of instances where I feel like the boat is eating our things. I can't find them, and like a month later I'll see that my husband placed, for example, our cooler. It's like a flexible fold-up cooler, and I thought for the longest time that we had lost it. No, my husband just put it in a place that I didn't think to look. Anyway, we'll get that taken care of. In the month of May, I already did the important dates card, so I have all the important dates in May. I actually had those done back in January, so I don't have to go over them, but I did go over them and compare them to my Google Calendar, make sure I have things all set. And here you can see I also had my 12-week year planned out well in advance, so I know it's coming up, and I have no excuses but to get started on it. So that's one thing that I've done differently, is just make sure that those 12-week years are in there already. So we're still in next week, and you can see that there's still more cards. I try to avoid appointment cards because I do keep all of our personal information on them to make it easy for me to make those appointments and confirm them and to discuss things with the receptionist, but I don't want to show them on here, and I've been deleting it out, but it's a lot of work, so I'm just going to try, I don't know, maybe I'll put a white square over it. Here you can see that we're getting into May, and my first 12-week year week for the divider. This is where I hold my weekly accountability meetings. That's where that's placed. It's after the last day of the first week in the 12-week year. I have lots of videos on it if you think it's confusing. But the scorecard right now isn't filled out because in the next week I just have to figure out how it is that I want to establish what it is that I'm measuring and how I am going to achieve those goals when it comes to finishing a novel. So most importantly, you see that these dividers have nothing in front of them because I need to place those monthly tasks, the one-off tasks that I have, and anything else like that. Like you saw the wash the car one, that is something that was just shuffled from a couple weeks ago over to that point. Each of the line items has a memory, so those are important for when I do my monthly reflection to look back and see what happened in the month of April that is memorable. I pulled out the May calendar because I'm going to use that as reference. So the goal is to keep me away from my phone when I'm in this planning mode. So there's no distractions and I won't get sucked down into black holes and think of all these other ideas. I already have things figured out and I just want to roll with it. Back in January, I planned out the different fun tasks that I have that I use from my fun card deck that just keeps things fresh and fun for our family. And so I have a few of those along with those monthly tasks that are recurring in front of the June divider that were just waiting, or in front of the May divider, I should say, that are just waiting for me to place them in front of dividers, give them days that I'm going to focus on them. That's my YouTube scorecard. So it's not necessarily my 12-week year anymore, but it's just a fun way for me to keep track of things. And then you can see in June, there's more dates highlighted and noted when it comes to through the 12-week year. I also have more cards placed in front of the month of June that I will organize when it comes to those date dividers. And then I have a number of blanks right now that are just cards that I can pull from if I'm out and about. There's the food divider and the learn divider that has some verses right now that pertain to the 40-day fast, 40-day sugar fast. I'm eating. I'm just abstaining from sugar. So this is my card box. I got it from the thrift store, and I thought I got a really good deal. It was like $2.50. And then I looked it up online because I thought this works really great. And it is $2.50 new, $3. Anyway. So here's the rest of the year. You can see that's just hanging out in the card box. I've already filled in these dividers because they were from 2024 and 2023, which will be fun to look back on. And then blanks. So those are the storage labels I'll use. There's some Rolodex, contact card type things, more blanks for my YouTube cards. And then I have a storage. So when I was talking about finding the tent, that was that reference card. And the boat, this is one I'm going to be working on because we have a haul out coming up this summer and we have a lot to do. And I'm going to be working on incorporating more of our liveaboard life into my card deck because I've just transferred over everything that I did when we were in a home to boat life. And the problem is boat life is so much more involved. There's just so many things that I need to keep track of and do, and I need to be better at it. Liveaboard tasks. It's going to be fun. So I had everything through June in the card deck, and now I'm adding everything through the end of August into the card deck because that takes me past the end of my 12-week year, and also through summer, which is kind of nice. I'm pretty sure that my 12-week year ends at the end of July. All of those blank gray colored cards, those are all for the tasks that I'm going to put into place for my lead generators. They're the things that help me reach my goal when it comes to the 12-week year goal of finishing my novel. And then I set that oil change card aside because I already got that done. I didn't need it again until August, and so I needed that divider out. And it just got shuffled to August. So when August comes around, I'll make that appointment and place it in the place that I need to find it. Now moving on to the next card that I had set out, which is the monthly reflection card. Now I did all of this on Saturday morning. I intend to put it on Wednesdays, but I skipped from the last Wednesday to today, knowing that Saturday is another day that I have time to get organized and plan for the week ahead. I really like doing monthly reviews because it just gives me time to go over what it is that we did and put a positive spin on it. Sometimes you get to the end of the month and you think, what did I do? What did I accomplish? I don't remember what happened. Especially if you have like a really busy week at the end of the month, then all you can think of with that month was what just happened. But in fact, like we went to Disneyland and April was a really good month. So to begin answering the memorable moments, I went through the divider and just read each of the daily memories that I had recorded on there. I found some themes, things that were repeated. I had a lot of really proud moments of the kids, and that was really fun to note. I also really loved reading over my memories from our vacation because I had a lot of worries around that week and traveling. We were doing a road trip, so there was just a lot of little moving pieces, and I made some changes like the day before we left. So it was just kind of fun to just realize that everything really did work out, and we had such a good time. So now that I went over all of those memories, I just start to answer things when it comes to the prompts that had to do with the month of April, just to close out the month. As far as my priorities go, looking over how I spent my time versus the values and what goals I have, if those were matching, I do feel like I did a pretty good job. Okay, and here's a big one. When it comes to changes and what I want to see and do differently in the month of May, so I'm focusing on those 3 big themes. And I don't usually do the theme thing. It was just, I don't know why. It just came out of me when I was doing some journaling was the idea that I think it's just the season. When we finish winter moorage, it's kind of like what's going to happen? What goes next? And it's in the past 2 years, things have changed so much that I just think it's probably just on my mind right now. But with that in mind, I've been thinking a lot about the time I spend on falling down. What I wrote for the monthly reflection was falling down the black hole of distraction, or my zombie time, where you're just tired or bored and you open up Instagram and you start watching reel after reel after reel or story after story, and you don't really find benefit from it. There's that, and also reading news headlines, which I do enjoy doing. I enjoy both of those things because if anything, what it does when I come away from it is I have some forms of conversation that don't involve talking about somebody else. They're just these stories that I found online, and I can chit chat with them to other people, and they're interesting and funny. But apart from that, I think there's better ways that I could be spending my time. And I think part of it also is that in reading the Wendy Speak 40-Day Sugar Fast book, she mentions quite a few times what are the other things that you need to be fasting from. Of course, I connected with the whole digital detox and fasting from devices because I already can't stand being on my phone, but I am at the same time drawn to my phone. And conveniently, in May, there is a screen-free week coming up in our community. So maybe this is a good time to step away from the screens. But see, I can't completely because I do a lot of my work on my computer, but I should only be on my computer doing the work and not doing the nothingness. I finished up with a gratitude exercise and moving on. So I put the April divider back where it goes because we still have a few more days in April left. I'm filing the monthly reflection in front of the May divider because I'll do it on a Wednesday along with important dates review at the end of May, and that date divider hasn't shuffled over there just yet. I don't know. I really like planning with cards because it feels like a game. I'm just watching myself play with cards and thinking, this looks like fun. As I start to organize the May cards that I'm placing, I'm just making a note for myself as a reminder of those 3 themes as I decide to skip fun cards or place them. So I was going to go over each of the cards with you, and then I just got on a track and I thought, okay, let's go ahead and just put this farmer's market card where it should go first of all. I'm going to place it later in May. I don't know about you, but our farmer's market is still crafts. There's no real food there yet, and I'm hoping like end of May there'll be something to purchase in line of like vegetables. These are cards from the Christmas and storm preparation bundle. I have those 2 together just because in the Pacific Northwest we experienced quite a few storms beginning in December, and it's just nice to have those 2 things together so that you can have a joyful time and one that, you just have peace of mind. So in May on the boat, this is a big thing with the fire extinguisher. You have to have a Coast Guard approved vessel, and part of that is having up-to-date extinguishers. So if you have extinguishers in your home, you got to check to make sure the expiration date is good, and then you have to take it if you have certain extinguishers to people to recharge or to just inspect it. I mean, the Coast Guard's not going to stop by your house and make sure you're following the rules, but we have to. So I shuffled that where I need to take care of it. I also shuffled the seasonal clothing card to a date that goes before we go to the mainland so I can donate some items. And then I'm moving the take recycling and trash cards out to June. We're not on Anchor right now, and so I don't have to worry so much about that, whereas in June we'll be traveling. So there's a couple cards that I had skipped ahead into June that are more YouTube or what I would consider work-oriented. So I'm placing those over in my little bundle to take care of last. And that includes this walking tour, which I thought about skipping, but I feel like it goes into making strong connections in the month of May. I also have a storage card fun story. On the island, almost every storage place I've called has a sweet elderly woman that answers. It's not super high tech, and so each one of them has told me I just have to call back weekly to see if they have any openings. They don't have wait lists. When you see that card shuffled, that's all that is. The haul out card is being placed on the 1st because, again, that's a pretty hard date that I have to call to schedule our haul out. And it's nice because I had already done all of that research back in January, so it'll be quick for me to just get it taken care of. These are from my fun card deck, and I thought the golf one would be fun because there is a golf course. There's a few. There's mini golf on Orcas, so there's some fun things to do. And then collecting sea glass is super fun on a couple of our beaches, but I've heard there's a rumor that there's one beach in the islands that gets you like a lot of sea glass, and so I thought that would be a fun challenge to do. I also need to make a vision board for my new 12-week year when it comes to finishing my novel, so I already know where I'm going to place that because my first 12-week year is coming up, so I place it on a Thursday because that's more of a creative hobby type day. I really want to go to High Tea in Victoria. It's in British Columbia, and this is like a very fancy place. I don't know if we'll get to do it in May, but it would be really cool if we did, especially because I think it's Victoria Day. Probably not the best time to go and do the tea, huh? So then there's Leslie Nope. We're big fans of Parks and Rec, and she does banners and cute binders, and I'm going to do one for our haul out in June. I put it together in May thinking that I should have it done by haul out. Whether or not going to attend a high tea is realistic or not in the month of May, I'm going to revisit it later and actually do some research and see if we can do it in the month of May. I didn't want to make a decision today. The sea glass, I'm putting it in front of the 5th, and the thing about the cards is if I don't get to it, I'll shuffle it to another Sunday or another day in the month of May or skip it entirely until June. And that way it's not just living on my to-do list every single day, but it can get pushed to a date that I would most likely do it. With this Waterman, like doing paddleboarding, kayaking, that kind of thing card, I decided that to go with the theme of building stronger connections, set up a time to go paddling with someone. That's my big goal. And then also we have a paddleboard race coming up at the end of May, so I just made sure that I made note of that as well. I shuffled that card in front of a date divider that I would most likely be able to text someone or reach out and invite them to go paddleboarding with me. When it came to the golfing, I needed to do some research, and because on the 29th I'm looking at the other recreational experience opportunities, I just placed them with that too. The binder and the banner, I'm shuffling to June. Ideally, I would be doing it in May. It's probably a June activity to do it like the beginning of June. And then going over YouTube cards, I separated the product cards from the content I needed to create, or I don't need to create, but I am planning on creating. I added up the date that I'd like to publish it up in the upper right hand corner, just with some space that would still allow me to note the time I think it will take, and I can schedule accordingly. But I have the title and some notes on each one of them. I also have a postcard, a card for a post to make, and then I have this resume card that's part of the fun card deck. I placed the video cards already onto Tuesday. I just placed them as a big bundle of cards that I'll work through the month of May, because some of them I have to record beginning at the start of May. And that way, while I might not have to put out one of them until, the end of the month, I can at least be working on all of that recording pieces. I'm giving it a day to focus on products too. This postcard is a little deceptive because it's not so much that I need to write the post for the vision board template, because I believe I have a post already that is focused on that. But I'm highlighting this idea of a spring catalog. I got this idea from someone, a video online. I'll have to find it and link it below too, where she talks about creating a catalog with all of your freebie offers, as well as products you've created, services, and like affiliate links and things like that in one space to help. And I thought that was a really cool idea. Now, creating your own walking tour, I almost skipped or even reused, but I decided that it is part of strengthening my connections with the cruising community. So I still want to prioritize that card in the month of May. And when it comes to creating a resume and doing a freelance gig, I was thinking, this doesn't really pertain to either of those. But then I decided that creating a resume is going to give me peace of mind when it comes to welcoming the unknown. That way, if an opportunity or something fun pops up, I'll have a resume. And plus, I think it's just kind of nice to have confidence in your skills and your experience and seeing that on a piece of paper. I did skip the freelance gig into June because that's not something that I'll have time for. And then I decided to keep that card with my different themes for the month of May in with the priming cards that I do each day. Just to finish up planning May, I'm taking out that YouTube, which is YT4, which stands for the 4th month or April. And I'm just going to go over and see where I'm at because I still have a few days in April to finish some of these things up. In fact, I did the rest of those learning cards today. And then I'll have this video coming out. I set aside all the cards that I'm working on once I finish with the card deck and then see if the cards will fit in the card bag. And they do. There's some cards, though, that I don't know if I'll need because they are just those blank task cards for the 12-week year. And I don't know how many you'll need for that. I also have a big chunk of learning cards from the different verses that I have. So there's some wiggle room there. I'm also pulling out the remainder of the YouTube cards. And that's what I'm going to focus on for the rest of Saturday, getting through those things. And doing the oven later. Blech. Thanks so much for watching my plan with me for May of 2024. Wishing you the best in the month ahead.